Hello everyone. Welcome to the flipped lesson on solving word problems using a system of equations with me, Mr. Wykhorst. As you watch this video, please take notes on what you see, write down any lingering questions you might have, and re-watch the video as much as you'd like. What I'd like you to do first is take a look at the following problem, and in a few seconds I'm going to ask you to pause the video. What I want you to do is try to solve the problem using one variable. Don't use two variables, one variable. Okay, pause the video, try to solve the problem, and then click play when you're done. So by now, you've solved the problem, and let's see if your solution in any way matches the one that I would do. So let's first look at how we start a solution like this. What we can do is, since we don't know the number of quarters or the number of nickels, we can call Q the number of quarters and Q plus 3 the number of nickels. So with that, we can now actually create an equation out of that. Since quarters are all worth 25 cents each and nickels are worth 5 cents each, we can multiply each of those quantities by what they're worth, add them together to get $1.95. Solving that equation would give me a value of Q equals 6, which means that the number of quarters is 6, and Q plus 3 would be 6 plus 3 is 9, which means that there are 9 nickels. So that was easily solved using one variable. What I'm going to show you in this video is how, when we have problems that have two variables, and we can create two equations out of those variables, we can actually use a system of equations to solve. What you might notice with these problems is that sometimes using a system of equations takes longer, but it gives you the same result. In a lot of cases in the future, it will actually be quicker. So let's look at the same problem again, and this time I'm going to solve it using two variables. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let Q be the number of quarters. Okay? And instead of calling the nickels Q plus 3, I'm going to call the nickels N. Okay? So, since I have defined two variables, in order to find their values, I need at least two equations to figure that out. So, the first one I'm going to create is actually similar to the equation I created before. If I have a total amount of money, I can multiply how much they're worth, so each quarter is worth 25 cents, plus how much each nickel is worth, and that total amount of money is $1.95. So that's one equation, but in order for me to find out what N and Q are, I need another equation to work with it. Well, my second sentence actually gives me that. The number of nickels, and that should say is 3 more, not is in 3 more. The number of nickels is 3 more than the number of quarters, so which means N is equal to Q plus 3. And you might notice from what we've been doing in class that this can actually be solved using the substitution method. Since N is equal to Q plus 3, I can replace N with Q plus 3. So my new equation becomes 0.25Q plus 0.05 times Q plus 3 equals $1.95. Now, if I were to go through the actual solving of that, you guys would notice I would get the same answer that I got before. It's the same equation that I had before. I just took it a different way. So the value of Q would be 6. But now I have to show work to show that I know what the number of nickels is. Well, since the number of nickels is Q plus 3, all I have to do is substitute in that 6. So the number of nickels is 9. And to formalize these problems, especially my solutions, what I can do is go back into my let statement that I created before, and I'm going to write my answers there. So Q is the number of quarters, I got was 6, and N is the number of nickels, which I got was 9. So what I hope you guys see from this example is that even though it might not have been the quickest way to do it, whenever you have two variables and two scenarios, you can create a system of equations to solve a problem. So let's look at a different example. Just like before, in a second I'm going to ask you to pause the video and try this example. Okay, and then once you're done, I'm going to ask you guys to unpause the video and watch my solution. So right now, pause the video and try to solve the problem, and then click play when you're done. So hopefully by now you've solved the problem. Let's take a look at what an ideal solution would look like with a system of equations. I'm going to define variables for the two things that are missing. In this case, I'm looking for Jamie and Amy's ages. So I'm going to let J be Jamie's age, and I'm going to let A be Amy's age. So I've defined my variables. Now in order to use a system of equations, I need two scenarios that I can translate into equations. Let's start with the first sentence. The sum of their ages, well actually the first sentence is Jamie is 5 years older than Amy. So right off the bat, I could write the equation J equals A plus 5. And then the sum of their ages is 19. So I can write J plus A equals 19. So I have two equations. Now I just have to decide what's the easiest way for me to solve these two equations. Well, since, again, I have J equal to A plus 5, I can use the substitution method. But let's be adventurous here. Let's rewrite this system, and let's use the elimination method. I'm going to move the A in the top equation over to the left side by subtracting it. So now I have J minus A equals 5, and J plus A equals 19. Okay? So, now that I have my two equations there, I can solve by elimination. If you notice, the A's are opposites. So if I added the equations together, the A's would actually be eliminated from the problem. So I would end up with 2J equals 24. And if I solve for J by dividing by 2, that tells me Jamie's age is 12. So I can go back into my let statement and write Jamie's age is 12. So to find Amy's age, let's just use the equations we had. I know Amy, if I take J plus A, it equals 19. So if Jamie's age is 12, that means 12 plus A equals 19. So if I subtract 12 from both sides, I end up with Amy's age, which is 7. So I go back into my let statement and I can put 7 there. And I now know the solution to my problem. Okay? So this is the complete solution of what I'd want to see if you guys were solving problems using a system of equations. So again, define the variables, set up your equations, choose the best method to solve, show all work, and then formalize your answers in your let statement. Make sure that your answers are placed up there. So now that the video is done, and you've heard me speak and you've watched some problems, you're going to go onto the website and you're going to fill out the Google form that matches with this video. I hope you enjoyed, and you can pause this, rewind it, rewatch it as many times as you want, and I'll see you tomorrow.